Second chances are not always a good idea, ex-girlfriends, but sometimes they can absolutely change our perspectives on things. I recently had 2 second chance moments with 2 pieces of video game media that I felt compelled to share with you. Look, I'll be honest, Alan Wake is an interesting one. Remedyverse feels oftentimes like it's an inside joke that I'm not privy to. It feels a little bit like I'm an outsider looking in on the metaphorical Remedy window. I want to understand the games and I want to understand what's going on, but I do think that a lot of the meta is probably the same meta I felt while playing Metal Gear Solid, where you just had to get it and you just had to understand it. When I first saw the performance of the Herald of Darkness at the Game Awards, I flat out said that it was kitschy, terrible, just not my cup of tea. I woke up the next morning after a blissful YouTube sleep and I discovered that a lot of people were quite upset with me, saying how sad it was that I wouldn't be covering that music on the channel, calling me a music snob. I felt really hesitant and resistant towards that, and I felt a bit like, well, whatever. How can this possibly be good? I saw what I needed to see. And then I had a thing happen. I had an epiphany. In 2015, I had to learn Richard Strauss's Ariadne auf Naxos. And without going into super complex detail about this, let's just say that Richard Strauss's music is not exactly everybody's cup of tea. I opened the score, listened to the first couple minutes of music, and slammed that score and didn't touch it again for 2 months. Fast forward to the week of dress rehearsals where I got to sit down and finally watch Ariadne auf Naxos, and when I tell you I wept. That opera has now become one of my favorite operas on the planet, and part of that was because I was forced to give it a second chance. And Herald of Darkness was the same. I was reminded of my experience with the opera, so I sat myself down, pushed play, and I realized how truly wrong I was.
The eye of the darkness, your light.
And there's a few reasons for that. I played Control. And while I don't necessarily feel like Control is a masterful game by any stretch of the imagination, and certainly it's by no means my favorite game, there is one particular moment in that game, the maze, that completely changed my perspective on the old gods of Asgard. Take Control is one of the coolest moments in a video game I have played in a very, very long time, and it's just so fun. That music was so empowering and so exciting to me and so full of just, it's one of those moments that just makes you smile as a gamer. You can't help but feel just a sheer sense of enthusiasm, and it really just like, it's a breaking of the fourth wall in the best way, much like I feel the Herald of Darkness is as well. The breaking of the fourth wall is such a fascinatingly wonderful thing when it's done well. It's a little tongue-in-cheek, a little bit of a wink as we thrust ourselves back into the drama of what's occurring on the screen or on the stage, and I think it can really help us as an audience feel connected to the characters that we're experiencing on the screen. And really, when I really took a step back, Herald of Darkness is not that deep. It tells the story of Alan Wake through musical form. It is musical theater writing. It's imperfect in that sense, and it's perfect in that sense. Musical theater singing does not always have to be perfect. I spent 10 years working with perfect, beautiful singing, or what is apparently beautiful singing when a ton of people don't even like opera. Musical theater is the closest thing to the human voice, just sung, and it has that natural cadence that we hear in our spoken language, as opposed to opera, which is much more formalized. In a lot of ways, opera is less welcoming than the Herald of Darkness is. And honestly, the song is just fun. I mean, we're talking electric guitars, we're talking 1980s style of singing. Think Journey, think Rush, and there's something about that we really need to just smile about, because this kind of music is so clean and it's so fun. I am I'm sort of confused as to why I missed the mark when I first listened to it. The same thing happened recently with Unicorn Overlord. Now, I am not a fan of strategy games by any stretch of the imagination. In fact, I hate strategy games. I did not enjoy my time with Fire Emblem. I played one ending and I was like, I'm good. I never need to play that again. I've not played Battle Tactics Ogre or Triangle Strategy or Final Fantasy Tactics. These are beloved games. Final Fantasy Tactics, especially as a Final Fantasy fan, you would think, oh, well, it's not to let. I hate these games. I fell asleep while I played the demo of Unicorn Overlord the first time. I was thought to myself, well, whatever, who cares? And then I said, you know, I feel like this game is good. Vanillaware has such high quality games. I have a bit of FOMO here. If I just commit myself to trying this again, maybe I'll like it. And if I don't, well, that's okay too. I tried it a second time and I'm hooked. I'm going on like 10 hours right now and I'm having such an amazing time. There's such a richness of characters, richness of depth in the music as well. There's a richness in the world building. There's a richness in the tasks that you do. And even though they all revolve around battling, there's something that feels really personal and really honest about it. I think it's probably because of the fact that every character in your party has a name, and so there's an association with humanity. I also feel like Unicorn Overlord kind of made me reignite my love for the Nintendo Switch. I hadn't picked this thing up in months, because I have a Legion Go, a Steam Deck, a PC, a PlayStation 5. I haven't thought about playing my Switch since Super Mario Wonder came out. It almost feels like I'm not playing a game. It feels like I'm so engrossed in an experience, in a tragedy, in a tale that's Shakespearean and deep and historical, and that's been really satisfying. Now, not everything deserves a second chance. Much like your ex-girlfriend, some things deserve to be left in the past, and you say, you know what, I tried that out, ooh, it wasn't for me, let's move on to something else. There's nothing wrong with that, but I think that we're very, very prone to not giving things second chances upon first listens. I know that if I hadn't decided to re-listen to opera and really engross myself into it when I decided to go to school for singing lessons because I wanted to be a musical theater musician, once I discovered opera for the second time, I was hooked. And I never looked back. You never know what you're going to discover when you give something a second chance. And yeah, there's a lot of trash out there, and there's a lot of video game music that's not good. And boy, do we live in a time period where there is so much music, and not all of it can be exceptional. But if we give ourselves the opportunity to have a chance to explore things that we may not think we like at first, I think we'll all be pretty surprised. Is there anything you've given a second chance to? I would love to know. See you later.